Hi friends, welcome back. So in this video I will be discussing about regression testing issues. I'm planning to discuss in this video around 20 real-time issues which we may face while performing regression testing. So we will go by one now. The first kind of real issue or real problems we face is number of test cases which might get missed because it may happen that because of lack of time or lack of coverage, you may anticipate skipping of certain regression testing as well, which is a problem all the time. If we have missed any test cases on the regression because of lack of time or lack of coverage, then we may get into a bigger challenges as part of regression testing. And again, test data is also very key, especially for regression testing. The insufficient or incorrect test data can create a lot of inaccurate results. Because of that, you should plan properly the test data for your regression testing. And the third one is, if there is a dependency with the external system, then you should solve those problems as well. Especially there are certain things like external services or API things. If you are not planned properly, then if you're trying to execute the regression testing cases, then you may see failures because there is a dependency is there to perform the testing that we are to require to be fixed before proceeding to any kind of regression testing. And the next type of thing is environmental differences also will be there, because we should always maintain our regression testing is in sync with the production, which is kind of a simulated environment or production environment. If you are not consistently maintaining similar kind of environment in our testing, then we may see a lot of inconsistency results as well. Next one is version control is also very key. If you are not maintain version control, especially for development as well as testing, if you are not maintain version control properly, and we may not be able to produce the results also accurately, because for every code version, if you wanted to start testing, then if version control only is not proper in the coding, then we may not be able to produce the right results while doing software testing. The next one is the test configuration is also very crucial, and this required to be well defined. This requires to be well spoken in front of all the stakeholders and define what is that kind of test configuration we should have it while performing regression testing. If our test configuration is wrong, definitely we may get into a lot of false negatives or false positive results. And the next type of issues we normally face is overlooked by the boundary conditions. Testers always, normally what we do is we just concentrating on the positive cases. We may ignore or we may forget the edge cases which are negative cases. And if you are not testing those boundary conditions, definitely we may get into a bigger challenges whenever customers finds it. And the next type of issues which we normally face is inconsistency in test execution. Regression testing cases are very huge in number. It may happen that multiple testers are going to execute this regression testing, and every time the tester execute, if our test cases are not accurately written, or if you do not know what is the expected results, even that time also, because every testers will interpret in a different manner and they try to execute the test cases in a different manner, and we may get the results also in a different manner. That is also a critical issues in regression testing. Because of that, you should be in a consistency in test execution as well. And the next one is unstable test environment. When we are not having the right kind of test environment, you mean is the network speed we should mimic as similar to the production environment. Even server performance also we try to see it is inappropriate or appropriate way. We have set up all these network bandwidth, server problems or any other factors that we may get into unreliable results as well. We have to see that as well. If our test environments are not stable enough, then we may get into issues in regression testing. And lack of automation is also very critical in regression testing, because as a day progresses, number of test cases also will increase. If you are not bringing automation into your application or in your project, then you may get into a slower way of executing test cases, and we may not be able to complete regression testing because of lack of test automation. And even test coverage also we have to see, because we cannot cover every aspects of the testing in our application because of various resource constraints. Then we should also keep in mind that even with a limited test coverage, how can we guarantee that we are trying to do a sufficient testing? That also is a key. If we are not taken care of that, definitely we get into these issues as well. And the next one is, we should keep in mind that apart from functional, we should also perform the non-functional aspects of the application, such as performance or security as well. We are not just required to focus on functional testing. We should also keep in mind we are going to take care of non-functional aspects of the application as well. And the next one is error handling. Error handling also very key, because if your test cases are not able to handle the error handling mechanism, and if you are not tested properly for error handling situation, for false positives or negatives, then your application will be a disaster. That's why your test cases, especially in the regression side, you should be able to take care of different scenarios of handling error handling mechanism. And even compatibility testing is also very key, especially whenever you are trying to perform UI-based application, web-based application, or mobile-based application, where we wanted to combine different combinations of browsers and different combinations of operating systems whenever we are trying to execute your test cases. And the next one is, documentation is also adds lots of value. If we are having a clear and up-to-date documentation, then there is nothing like that. You can have a good regression testing if you're having right document. Sometimes we may not have right documentation, but at least tester should have a clear understanding on what we are trying to test. That itself a great thing. If something is inadequate, definitely we should try to push for ensuring that we have enough documentation. And the next one is environmental differences as well. We just discussed this one, is our testing and production environments are not accurate, they are not consistent. Definitely we may see a lot of inconsistency result. In production environment we see in a different way, and our testing environment we see different way. That can give a lot of problems as well. We are not able to reproduce sometimes. And failure to reproduce the bugs as well is another challenges or issues in regression testing. If tester cannot reproduce the reported bugs, then we cannot effectively do the regression testing. Because of that, you should be able to reproduce the bugs properly, effectively, by following the right procedure, right processes. If you are not able to reproduce, then we may see various challenges like we just discussed, such as environmental issues or production issues, something like that. And the next type of issue which we face is over-reliance on the previous results. Normally what we do is, earlier execution, some of the test cases passing, then we will be overconfident any of those test cases never fail. If you are keeping that kind of mindset in our mind, definitely we may miss many defects, because we always think that that functionality works all the time. Who knows, if that some of the functionality which is already working, if it is breaks, then nothing like that, we may get into a big issues. And the next one is not considering the impact of code changes, especially while planning the regression testing, the test cases. We should always plan for what are the different code changes I have done, and what are the impact because of that code changes. Everything we have to do detailed analysis. Once we are able to do detailed analysis, then only we should plan to execute the regression testing. If you are not making that thorough analysis on the code changes, definitely we cannot identify the right regression test cases. And the next issue is inadequate test maintenance as well. Sometimes what happens, as the day progresses, we may get into thousands of test cases in the regression bucket. It may happen that some of the code changes are happening where our regression test cases are not updating accordingly as well. Because of that, maintaining of this regression testing becomes very problematic as the number of test cases increases, and over the period we will see many of the test cases becomes outdated, and because of that the test maintenance is very crucial. We should maintain our test cases as and when required. If you just ignore, we may get into bigger challenges. And the next one is late addition of new test cases. When there is a change in the code, if there is a existing test cases can manage it, there is nothing like that. If there are no test cases available, then we should add new test cases. If you are not adding these new test cases in appropriate time, it may happen that it becomes incomplete coverage, and we may get into a lot of challenges while doing regression testing. So these are some of the challenges which we normally face while performing regression testing.